Hello everyone! So, this was much sooner than expected, huh? Well, today, we're showing off a brand new character, a collaboration with the brilliant artists of Seer for the From Mario Jam, hosted on the Rivals Extended Workshop server. Well, without further ado, let's fly into this trailer. Yes, it's the cool and hip Kong himself, Funky Kong. The iconic character from the Donkey Kong Country series, as well as a beloved racer from Mario Kart, makes his way into Rivals of Aether Workshop. But why Funky Kong? When the Mario Jam was announced, naturally all of us on the Frenzy crew started speculating and discussing different characters we would like to work on for this jam. And with the announcement that Mario spin-offs were also fair game, I can say that personally, I started gravitating towards the Donkey Kong series. And since Seer was also planning on tackling Funky Kong as one of his options, we had a clear choice. Now many of you might argue, why Funky Kong instead of Donkey Kong? Well, as many of you may know, I already worked on a mod for Donkey Kong in the past. Although it's a very old and admittedly janky mod, it did have some cool ideas, like his barrel mechanic. This was then the inspiration behind another mod of mine, Maverick, an original character that would take both from Smash Donkey Kong as well as the barrel mechanic from my own DK. So, in many ways, you can say I sort of wrote myself into a corner. Making a definitive edition of my DK mod would feel redundant when we have Maverick, and deviating too much from Smash DK would make it feel a bit strange for fans of that moveset. In this sense, Funky Kong truly served as a great way of representing the Donkey Kong series, as well as being a new fun take on a Donkey Kong inspired moveset. Now we won't dwell too much on Funky Kong's lore and character, trust me there's a lot, but for now a simple overview will suffice. The Donkey Kong series first started in the arcades in 1981. In this game, players take control of Jumpman, later known as Mario, who needs to climb and dodge through multiple obstacles to rescue his girlfriend Pauline from the mighty Donkey Kong. Later on, Mario himself would star more prominently in 1983's Mario Bros, and a few years after that, Super Mario Bros, which is often counted as the proper start of the Super Mario series. One could argue, because of this, Mario was actually the spin-off of Donkey Kong all along. I wonder if that makes this jam more accurately titled the From Donkey Kong Jam? Regardless, Donkey Kong continued having sequels and spin-offs like Donkey Kong Jr. and Donkey Kong Jr. Math. But it was later, in the Super Nintendo era, where Nintendo would collaborate with the budding Rare Studios to bring back Donkey Kong in full force. This new game worked as a reboot of the series, and readaptation of the character, thus creating the Donkey Kong Country we know today. Donkey Kong Country was released for the Super Nintendo in 1994. Rare created a full new cast of characters and enemies, including new Kongs who assist the series protagonist Donkey Kong through his adventures. Diddy Kong served as DK's second banana, Cranky Kong gives the crew helpful with berating tips, Candy Kong, who lets you save your game, and finally, Funky Kong. He runs a personal business called Funky's Flights, which allows DK and Diddy to get a ride on his funky barrel so they can travel to previous stages. Funky Kong later appeared in the game's sequel, Donkey Kong Country 2: Diddy's Kong Quest, offering the same service. Then in Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble, he appears as a boat mechanic, upgrading the player's vehicle so they can access new areas. Funky Kong became a mainstay in not only the Donkey Kong series, but also the wider Mario series as well. He appears in spin-offs like Super Mario Sluggers, and has a notable presence in Mario Kart, being a fan favorite of Mario Kart Wii due to his bodacious stats. Around the early 2010s, Funky Kong fell to the wayside, not appearing much in Mario spin-offs or even Donkey Kong games, even having a notable lack of presence in Donkey Kong Country Returns. However, in Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, he appears once more as the owner of an in-game shop, and in the Switch remaster, he was upgraded to a full playable character status in the game's brand new Funky mode. Funky Kong serves as something of an easy mode, able to use his many gadgets to gain an upper hand while traversing these levels, notably being able to land on spikes and even double jump and glide thanks to his trusty surfboard. Funky Kong is all about the cool and stylish vibes, so we designed him around that concept, sporting powerful attacks and tricky movement options to make for a style-heavy brawler playstyle. Funky Kong makes use of his iconic surfboard for many of his attacks, either attacking directly with it, or even surfing the waves in the middle of a fight. Starting with Funky's neutral special is the Kong Bazooka Grapple. This move originates from Donkey Kong 64, where Funky owns an artillery shop, selling different firearms to the playable Kongs. Funky even keeps his very own Kong Bazooka handy here. Funky tries to grab anyone in front of him, and if he succeeds, he'll stuff his unlucky target into his Kong Bazooka. And let me tell you, if he shoots ya, it's gonna hurt. Funky can turn around after the grab to shoot opponents the other way, and he's even able to grab opponents' projectiles and stuff them into the bazooka, shooting a flaming coconut back at his opponent. For Funky's down special, we have the Flourishing Crest. Funky climbs on his surfboard and rides the wave, acting as a backward somersault. You can use this attack as a way of quickly getting back into the action, or to juggle your opponents, though alternatively, the move packs a lot of power if you hit it just right. If you manage to land the attack in the very first active frame, Funky will launch his opponents with a tremendous amount of force. Baby! For Funky's up special, he has the Rocket Barrel Blast. As the name implies, this move originates from the Donkey Kong spin-off racing game Donkey Kong Barrel Blast, where Funky is also playable. In that game, the characters need to hit their bongos rapidly to gain speed, which is reflected here. If you use the move normally, Funky will fly for just a short while, but if you hold down the special button, Funky will start to pound on the bongos. The more you hit, the higher he will fly when you eventually release the special button. You can also cancel the move to store its charge, which you can check on your HUD. Try to charge the whole way and cancel it then to really unleash a real barrel blast against your opponents. Oh yeah! And last but not least, we have Funky's forward special, the Flame Runner Ride, coming straight out of his appearance in Mario Kart Wii. In that game, Funky Kong is one of the best characters due to his high speed stat, as well as having the perfect weight to take the Flame Runner bike, one of the best vehicles in the game. With this killer combo, it's no wonder Funky Kong is the optimal character for tearing up the track in Mario Kart Wii. Due to this history, fans rejoiced when Funky finally returned to the series in Mario Kart Tour, and especially during the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. Getting into the move in Rivals, Funky Kong mounts his bike and starts driving it forward, where he's able to hit enemies continuously as well as destroy any weak projectiles he comes into contact with. And that's just the first part of the move. If you press the attack or special button alongside a direction, Funky can pick from 3 different follow-ups. Let's check them all. If you press the attack button or hold the back direction, Funky will perform a quick drift. This is a snappy way of getting out of the move, as well as it being the fastest option, ideal for combo follow-ups. Next, if you hold down to press attack, Funky will perform a wheelie, catching opponents with it before slamming down with tremendous force. This is the strongest but slowest option, ideal for taking stocks. And finally, by holding up and pressing the attack button, Funky Kong performs a trick, where he rides on his surfboard and deals multiple hits while riding the waves. This follow-up isn't as committal as it looks, allowing for Funky to quickly jump out of it at the end of the attack. In the air, the forward special is the Flame Runner Boost. Funky climbs on the bike and blasts forward with it, spinning and dealing a hefty hit to anyone in front of him. Keep in mind that if you whiff this attack, Funky Kong will go into pratfall, so please watch out for that when using the move off stage. These were all of his specials, but before we look at his stage, let's see some of his other notable moves and details. For Funky Kong's dash attack, it's the classic roll. Being one of the most iconic attacks from the Donkey Kong Country series, this move is usually reserved for passing through multiple enemies or jumping out of it while rolling off a ledge, which is actually retained here. Funky can use dash attack to roll off platforms and ledges, which allows him to cancel that into a jump. Funky's forward air is quite a unique attack. The animation is based on how DK and Funky break the gold barrel at the end of the stage in Tropical Freeze. Funky spins his arm around before delivering a powerful uppercut. Try landing the first part of the punch to really send your opponents flying. But that's not all. If you hold the attack button, Funky will keep spinning his arm, charging and charging the move more and more, delivering an even more powerful punch the more you charge it. Remember how I mentioned that Funky Kong was also present in Mario Super Sluggers? Well, in that game, Funky uses his surfboard to hit the ball back, instead of using a regular baseball bat. This action was used as the inspiration for his forward strong. Funky leans back while holding his surfboard before swinging it forward with tremendous force. Home run! You may notice that a lot of Funky's animations are recreations from many different animations in Tropical Freeze. His general movement, like running and jump, as well as how he ground pounds with down strong, his up strong pose being the same one when he enters his first stage, or even how he's chilling on his surfboard with back air. That one is actually one of the many poses he cycles through when finishing a boss. Artists of Sierra truly did a fantastic job animating Funky Kong, adapting many of those animations from Tropical Freeze and Mario Kart. And on that note, Funky Kong's taunt also comes from Tropical Freeze, being one of his idle animations. Sierra really went above and beyond in recreating this animation, especially considering how long it is, so because of that, the taunt has two versions. There's a short one where you simply press the taunt button, or a longer one by holding down the taunt button. They both have different endings, and both are perfect to style on your opponent after a tubular KO. If Funky's flow gets interrupted a bit too hard, you may just see him respawn on the Funky Barrel. This barrel-shaped plane originates from the first Donkey Kong Country, being the very same that takes DK and Diddy around the island. As it has become tradition with the Frenzy mods, Funky Kong features a new Funky Voice mode. On the character select screen, you can pick from a mute or voiced option. With voices on, Funky will sing his gnarly shouts whenever he performs or lands attacks. You may notice that more powerful moves are met with equally powerful yells from the ever-powerful Kong. As was the case with previous mods, Sierra always makes these incredible concept sketches for the character's various attack animations. You can feel just how much raw energy these attacks had, even during the conception stage. Since Funky was made for a jam, these sketches proved especially valuable for us to get his development on time. To close it off, Funky Kong's trailer opens with us teasing King K. Rool. We love King K. Rool, so we were a bit divided on doing this to the poor croc, and we hope you don't mind the fake out. In fact, before we landed on Funky Kong, Sierra and I also considered working on King K. Rool for this jam. He even updated his old sprite so it could be used in the trailer intro. Well, I'm sure we'll see a proper King K. Rool in Rivals Workshop one day. And finally, Funky Kong's splash screen artwork, which was drawn beautifully by Rabbids. They had previously worked on the artwork for the Pale Blood Hunter, and they once again did a fantastic job here, with Funky being front and center riding his surfboard in front of a cozy tropical background. Now let's take a look at Funky Kong's home stage. It's Homecoming Hijinks from Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. It was drawn by Gustavo and given gimmick code and design by VVizard. In this game, the Snowmads take control of Donkey Kong Island and send our heroes away, so throughout the game, you're on a journey to take back your home from these cold-hearted individuals. Homecoming Hijinks is the first stage of that game's final world, with the stage itself being based on the final section of the stage, right before the gold barrel. In the original level, these two platforms would fall after the Kongs jump on them too much, and this was brought over to the stage as well. They're more durable here, since Rivals focuses more on player combat than just platforming, so the platform breaking serves more as a way to shake up the flow of a fight than an obstacle to watch out for. Whenever a fighter lands on the platform normally, small shards of ice will pop out from it, showing how it's slowly losing its stability. After it's collapsed, a new platform will freeze over again after a few seconds, so the layout of the stage is always slightly shifting. Additionally, whenever a Kong is defeated in the original game, they will lose a life balloon. As it turns out, on this stage, fighters who lose a stock will also have a life balloon taken from them. You can see one float right by whenever the fighter is KO'd, and their color of the balloon even matches the player slot color. While the stage is already quite interactive, the Aether form is where the hijinks really starts. Throughout your playtime, barrel cannons will appear in various areas of the stage, acting exactly as they do in the classic Donkey Kong Country games. You can hop in one and press an attack button to launch yourself with so much speed that it blasts other players right out of your path. Alternatively, outside of the barrel, you can attack someone else inside of one to try to mess up their launch timing. And, as a note taken from the dynamic levels in Tropical Freeze, going into a cannon for the first time will cause a line of bananas to spawn, which, if you aim your shot just right, will heal you for 2% a pop. Of course, anyone can take those bananas, so you'll often have to decide between getting a perfect shot or blasting early to make sure your foes don't steal all the fruits for themselves. Just be sure to watch where you're blasting, or a few uneaten bananas will be the least of your troubles. Once a player is at their final stock, it becomes a barrel cannon barrage. 6 cannons all spawn around the stage, and just like in the original games, you can chain together launches into other barrels with the right timing. It becomes quite hectic very fast, so these final stocks may not last all that long. For the song selection this time, we once again have a total of 8 tracks to choose from. 6 of these songs were original compositions by David Wise from Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Homecoming Hijinks, Seashore War, Forest Folly, Scorch and Torch, Harvest Hazards, and Blurry Flurry. This game's soundtrack is a personal favorite of VVizard's, and he personally selected every song here that he thought would best fit the stage. The other 2 tracks are more representative of Funky Kong himself. First is Funky's Medley, which is a remix of various Donkey Kong Country series songs arranged by the all-time classic video game remixer, DJ the S. It's great at capturing the whole scope of the series songs, while prominently featuring Funky's theme from the first game in the series throughout. The second is an arrangement from the excellent Polygon of Funky Stadium from Mario Kart Wii. This was a clear fit with the historic prominence that Kong has in the Mario Kart series, and this funktastic remix does the track complete justice. And with that, we close another presentation. With Funky Kong being a jam entry, we sort of had to finish and release this character very quickly, but even so, I'm really happy how everything came out, both in terms of being a fitting character for the Mario Jam, as well as an excellent and beloved addition to the VVizard's Final Frenzy 2. Donkey Kong Country is easily one of my favorite series of all time, with Tropical Freeze most likely being my favorite 2D platformer ever made. I always wanted to properly represent the Donkey Kong series, specifically Tropical Freeze, so I'm really glad we were able to do just that with Funky Kong. Like I mentioned before, it was a bit redundant for me to consider making a definitive edition of my Donkey Kong mod, considering Maverick is practically that already, so working on Funky Kong allowed us to design a new Donkey Kong character with a very fun and bombastic moveset, while also really setting him apart from both DK and Maverick. We designed Funky to truly be an aggressive fighter who oozes hype, where every move feels satisfying to pull off and style on your opponents. As always, I would like to thank everyone involved in this project. Of course, major thanks goes to Artists of Seer. As always, he truly gave life to yet another fantastic character, with each new animation somehow being even more surprising and simply spectacular. I'm so glad we were able to collab on so many characters already, and here's to even more collabs with you in the future. Thanks as well to Gustavo and VVinya. You two remain the GOATs when it comes to making all of these incredible stages. Funky stage looks and sounds absolutely incredible, truly capturing the feeling of Tropical Freeze. And of course I would like to thank Rabbits for their work on the trailer's unique artwork. And that'll be all. Funky Kong and the Homecoming Hijinks stage should be available right now. I hope you all had fun with this presentation, and I hope you all continue to have fun with the fighter and the stage. VVizard's Final Frenzy Season 2 has just begun, so hopefully we'll be seeing you all in the near future once our next character is finished. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all then.